Dress Up Darling, forget about it. Spy Family, forget about actually, well, I made a video on that one, so don't forget about it. You should go watch it, actually. Summertime Ren, actually, that show slaps too. Remember that one. You should go watch it. Damn, anime has actually been pretty good this year. But you know what they say, you always have room for dessert. And who doesn't love dessert?
私が考えた新メニューです。どうです？これは砂糖？
This is, and I kid you not, my 5th attempt writing this video. Not because it's a difficult one to write, but because this show has been evolving every week, and now I am sucking it up and deciding just to finish the script before it's too late. Lycoris Recoil has been my absolute obsession over the summer anime season, and at this point, it's one of my favorites of the year. I don't say that lightly, there have been some bangers this year from all the new coming anime. My current best performing video was on Spy Family, your boy Kong Ming's OP was jammed into everyone's brain for the spring, my stepmom's daughters, my exes displayed generational storytelling never seen before. There's just so much to love about anime in 2022, but my heart has been stolen and I'm all in on Chisato and Takina's adventure. The initial description for Lycoris Recoil is pretty misleading. After reading it, one would probably think to themselves that it's going to be some sort of cute girls do cute things anime, when in fact the show is actually cute girls do counter-terrorism. Just think of it like CSGO, but with characters and a story, and no Russians calling you slurs in the chat. I've actually seen a multitude of people calling this show anime John Wick, and while I may have no room to talk considering I've never actually seen John Wick in any capacity, I have to personally disagree regardless. I can see where the comparison starts at least. Chisato is pretty broken as far as characters without superpowers go, and while we haven't seen her use pencils to fight and kill people, I would be entirely unsurprised if she could make it work. Her reaction time would leave you to believe that she drinks a gallon of the original Coke recipe to start her day as she dodges bullets without effort, even from a mere few feet away. This allows her to get away with pretty much whatever she wants. Chisato admits multiple times to not being much of a sharpshooter, and Takina gets on her for wasting bullets, but these things don't really matter when she herself can't get hit at all. In short, she's just a badass. This is where I feel like the comparison to John Wick ends though. As far as I understand, John Wick isn't exactly very complex and is basically just extremely entertaining action piece. Lycoris Recoil, on the other hand, has genuine substance behind it. What I mean by substance is that there's some meat on the bones, you know? Bread is great, but with some sauce and cheese, you got yourself a pizza. Lycoris Recoil is that pizza. Lycoris Recoil doesn't sport a complex narrative, but it does have an interesting basis for a premise. It adds on to this with an interesting main duo to follow along with as we see two girls grow as people. Takina is dedicated to her work as she sees being a licorice as the thing that gives her purpose since she's really all she's ever known. This makes it hard for her to express herself as she tries to conduct everything in a rather logical manner. Chisato seems perfect on the surface, but she carries her own baggage as well, chasing happiness every day by giving back to others as her life was given to her by someone else. But she doesn't know the darkness that lies behind what she believes to be her life's purpose. Lycoris Recoil has a bunch of characters worth talking about, but I feel like I need to go deeper on these two in particular. Starting off with the one that was focused on the most initially, we have Takina. Right off the bat, we see what kind of person she is. Takina takes being a licorice seriously, but also cares for those around her in her own way. With the communications jam going on, she took the initiative to save her teammate, but that unfortunately led to her being removed from the main base as a part of a cover-up for what was a communications hack. Meeting and being partnered with Chisato is what set the ball rolling for her. The two have styles that are completely different from each other, which allows for Chisato to rub off on Takina a fair bit. What helps even more is that Chisato doesn't try to force her ideals onto Takina. Chisato uses rubber bullets to avoid killing people as she doesn't want to take away their time, and Takina does things, you know, the typical way. Despite not forcing any actual change, Takina did decide on her own to try and use rubber bullets, though due to not being as accurate with them as regular bullets, she settled for aiming at the non-vital areas. Chisato showed Takina that there's more to life than just being a licorice and that she can make her own choices and move in her own direction. This is where Takina's growth kind of ends, which isn't a bad thing, don't get me wrong. Now that Takina is basically done, she has opportunity to show her growth, and that allows for Chisato to start moving as a character as well. Chisato is someone who seems perfect on the surface, but is a much deeper character than initially looks. Where do I even begin with Chisato? She's been my obsession since the summer season and is probably my favorite character of the entire year at this point. At the start of the show, I figured the whole thing would basically be about Takina's personal growth, with Chisato as kind of like the mentor figure, but I couldn't have been more wrong. The assumption felt valid at the moment because it was like she had already been through her own anime at this point. Introduced as the fun yet extremely skilled girl that she is, you'd think someone this overpowered wouldn't really have any room for growth given her personality. The Allen Institute changes this entirely. The character who wears her heart on her sleeve actually had no real heart at all. The information was just kind of dropped on us in episode 5, as much to Takina's surprise as well, it was revealed that Chisato has an artificial heart. Not only that, but we learned the Allen Institute is trying to get her to kill people as the gift that they're supporting her life for is is her ability to kill. Chisato had always believed her heart to be something that was given to her through kindness, but it was something that came with much more weight than that. She had built her entire sense of reality based on the fact that she was someone who was saved in order to give back to others. It's a heartbreaking scene to see her backstory as she's given a new heart. Waking up to the gift from the Allen Institute, she believes her gun to be one for saving people, and carries that false belief with her until present time. Enjoying every moment of life, not wanting to take away time from others as she was given more time to live herself. All the things that make her the Chisato that we know and love were built upon one big lie. Perhaps deep down she knew that something was wrong but decided to ignore it, though all the way to the end she was thankful that it was a lie. She admits that she might have bent under the pressure knowing her life was at stake if she didn't kill others, but even knowing his full intentions now, she still wants to push forward and save the one she once believed to be her savior. Behind all the cute interactions between Chisato and Takino lies a bit of a darkness. In a way, you could compare that reality to the Japan of Lycoris Recoil. Tokyo is completely unaware of how much really goes on in their city. A hidden darkness as the secret Lycoris keep the peace. This leads me into the last thing that, at the very least, I wanted to mention, and that's the villains of the show. Majima and Yoshimatsu are pretty different as people, but they're similar villains to an extent. Yoshimatsu, the Allen suit, has a god complex of sorts where he picks and chooses people to save based on their abilities. There's also the factor of supporting talents that are meant to be used for chaos. Majima, who is an Allen child, funny enough, uses superhuman hearing for evil purposes, being the one to destroy the radio tower all those years before, while Yoshi also wants to use Chisato's capabilities for killing. He truly believes the world is better off in this way, in a sense aligns with Majima's views to some degree. Majima, I'd say you could kinda compare to the Joker. They both got the green hair, but they also strive for a world that's filled with both good and chaos. I wouldn't call him entirely evil, but he's obviously not a good person in any capacity. Going with the flow, he will do whatever interests him, and upon his deeds getting covered up by the Lycoris and learning about Chisato, he decides to expose the Lycoris by inciting chaos in Tokyo, forcing them to reveal themselves. He shoots the image behind him and puts a crack in the fake background as he puts cracks into the fake peace that the city has touted. Lycoris Recoil is probably going to make me cry by the end, and even if the show itself doesn't make that happen, not having it to watch on Saturdays going forward might just do the trick. I've fallen in love with the characters and how the show itself is directed and written. Maybe my love for the show is creating a bit of a bias of sorts, and I can acknowledge that, but I really do think that this show is the best new thing this year. I love a lot of shows that have come out in 2022, and this is surely going to be a year to remember, but I know that one day when I look back, this will be the show that I think about first. I trust the show will end well, but even so, I'm not ready for this ride to be over.